I'm not a techno wizard, but maybe you are. Go for it. Welcome to Grit Gym, guys. We have Lisa Carpenter here. Lisa,
Hello.
the alphabets behind her name inserts. She is a crusader against traditional dieting. She is pro women freeing themselves of the status quo judgments of their bodies and the choices, the food choices that they make. She seeks lasting change for her clients, which I like a lot. I think that is a great thing to really promote, that it's not just a flash in the pan. And she's also a mom and a wife and an entrepreneur. And she's written after 2 decades, not years, 2 decades in the industry. She's written a book. It's called Let's Eat. We're going to talk a little bit about it today. I'm really excited to have her on. Lisa, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Thank you. I'm super pumped to be here. Yeah, so I have been in the, fitness nutrition industry now for, like I said, almost 2 decades, which kind of blows my mind because it totally dates me, right? I still think I'm in my 20s, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And I typically now work with, I call them super achievers, right? The high performance, high achieving women who really, they've achieved so many things in all other areas of their lives, but they still are really struggling with their relationship with their bodies. And it holds them back in their businesses, in their personal lives. So that's kind of my jam. And of course, I've created, online programs that support the nutritional work I do. And this is, like 2 decades of work now has been rolled up into this book, because as much as we want to put the focus on, we can do more exercise and we can eat more chicken and vegetables, it's really not, that is not what it takes to create lasting change. And that's actually, the food is just a symptom of what is really going on for people when it comes to creating change.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, it can't all come down just to the you just got to eat a bunch of steamed broccoli and a bunch of chicken.
Right.
It just come down to the more work. Like that obviously those two things have to be a component of it, but that can't be the whole thing, right?
No, and that's the thing. Like, if it was just about the systems and the procedures and then the what you eat, we could all get there. We're all smart people. Healthy eating is not rocket science, right? It's not new. There's a reason that we're struggling to create lasting results for ourselves. It's because we're not going deeper and really looking at what is going on. And it's not about doing more. It's about doing less better. It's about having the courage to do the inner work to create the outer results.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's way harder for people than it seems. I think like most of us are like, oh no, on the inside I'm good. I got that figured out. And on the outside is where they think that they struggle. And I think like they probably struggle 10% on the outside, but on the inside they're struggling 90%. I don't know what those aren't actual numbers, but there's probably some going on there. And I think it's really hard for people to look internally.
It takes a catalyst. Like, I believe that we all have these, come to Jesus moments, so to speak, that really create the change that we need to have happen. And, for most of my life, I was really operating in this unconscious state, but thinking that I was conscious, like, I've been a coach for a lot of years. Like, I thought I had my shit together, so to speak, only to find out that I was a hot mess and didn't even realize it. So it was so easy for me to do the doing and be busy and transform my body. I've been a competitor for fitness and figure, but I wasn't actually looking what was driving those behaviors. And, what really happened for me was, God, it's coming up on 6 years ago now. And I write about this in the book. My husband, I found out he was an active addict. And he went to rehab, and I was left with a 6-month-old baby, 2 preteen boys and a 6-month-old baby going, what the hell just happened to my life? And it would have been really easy for me to sink into this place of being the victim and make, it's all about him. And if he, but I really took it in the moment. I didn't take it as an opportunity, but there was an opportunity for me to lean in, right? And say, what is my role in this relationship? And look at my stuff. And that's what really started to change things for me, because I was faced with, when you have somebody kind of holding you by the shoulders and saying, like, do you see how your life is all about control and all about perfectionism? And you're so busy doing that you're not actually feeling anything in your life. And it doesn't matter what you do. It's never good enough, Lisa. And why are you so hard on yourself? Like, I didn't even see those things because they were like breathing to me, right? They were like breathing. But a lot of what drove me in my business was this amazing desire to succeed, because then I'll be good enough, right? My eating habits were all around like control. And when my body looks perfect, then I'll feel good enough. But it was never really good enough. Perfectionism. I mean, oh, pardon me?
You end up chasing your tail, right?
Totally. But again, it took that real catalyst in my life for me to step back and say, what is the role in the relationship that I'm not just having with my husband, but with myself? Because in order for me to have a healthy relationship with anybody else, I have to have a healthy relationship with myself first. So, 6 years later, he's still in recovery. We have a phenomenal relationship, not because I fixed him, but because I went to work on myself and he worked on himself. And that's what's, in essence, has completely transformed my business. It's transformed so much of my work, because prior to that, my program was really about putting all the pieces of nutrition together so people could create their own blueprint, which honestly, a lot of people hate, because they're like, just give me the plan, I'll follow the plan. That's not what I do. I actually empower women to choose. Yeah. So going through that process, I realized what I had developed was almost like a recovery plan for people who, are either trying to diet, like they're hanging on so tightly, or they're over here like, willy-nilly, totally out of control. So, but the process allowed me to understand the level of emotionality and the things that are really going on for people underneath the dieting that is actually driving the dieting behaviors, right? I got a whole lifetime lesson in addiction and what that really looks like, and what numbing behaviors are, and how the role that food plays for many people in terms of numbing, whether it's like harsh self-control or whether it's this, cycle of dieting. And there are lots of fitness and figure competitors that they know how to eat to get on stage, but they don't know how to eat to actually maintain a physique that they love off stage, and their entire self-worth, even though they don't want to admit it, hangs on how they look on stage. And they're in a constant state of self-loathing when they're not on stage, right? Because now they're not good enough. There's this crazy measure that goes on. So I help really women break free of all of that and really step into this empowered stance with food, and really break down the things that are driving the behaviors around food.
Yeah. And when you get into that, is it all mindset stuff, or is it all like they're finding it out on their own, or how do you, like, what's your process?
I wish I had this like system or process around it, but it's honestly, I get into conversations with my clients and I hear things and I see things and I bring them to the surface and I say, here you go. Do you want to look at this? Because this is what I'm seeing. And a lot of times what is required for transformation, what is required for this mindset work, is we have to become conscious of it. So our behaviors are always driven by our beliefs, who we believe we are, what we believe to be true about our bodies, our businesses, or whatever it may be. We're always going to take action from that place. So when you create consciousness around some of these beliefs, like, why do you believe that you have to do X, Y, and Z? Why do you believe that you have to be this lean all the time? Why do you believe that you have to eat these things in this order? When we can bring those beliefs to the surface, then we can start to get curious about them. So not judge them, but just get curious and say, well, what would it look like if you were to come at this from a different perspective? And that helps to transform people's mindset, because now they're seeing things from a different view, right? You can stand at the bottom of the mountain and it's going to look one way. You can stand at the top of the mountain and look down and it's going to look another way. My job is to disrupt people's beliefs so that I can disrupt their behaviors for the long term. Because once you have awareness around things, you can't go back. You can, but now you know, right? Now you know.
But you're going to consciously go back. I mean, like you don't get to unsee, right?
No. So, perfectionism has always been a really big gremlin of mine.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of people, right? Yeah. So
just in general, I think most of the things you've said so far could apply to almost
Absolutely.
Right? Just some of us that are in this industry happen to go on the extreme side of the external of how our bodies look, right?
Absolutely, right? And we hold that as this level of excellence.
Yeah.
We hold it as this level of excellence. So perfectionism got in the way for me a lot. And it was actually, the irony is it allowed me to hide from the world, right? Women wouldn't approach me because I looked a certain way, right? Like I used perfectionism as a way to block connection from other people and most importantly from myself, right? Because now my entire worth was built in how I look. So now that I know that about myself, I am so conscious to it. So I make it a point to show up and do live streams when my hair is piled on top of my head and I got no makeup on. I make it a point, like if I've got a speaking gig or I'm doing an interview like this, if I'm in the bathroom brushing my hair for an hour, has nothing to do with how my hair looks. I'm nervous. So it's being conscious to how I'm really feeling and not letting perfectionism get in the way anymore. Because that's what it's about. It's about us not wanting to feel what we need to feel. And nobody likes to hear that. Like when my copywriters, said to me, we need to put that you help people feel their feelings. I'm like, don't put that out there. Nobody wants to feel their feelings. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they just run away.
Right. That's ultimately what I help people do is I help them actually feel what's going on for them so they can move through it and stop making it wrong, stop trying to numb it out.
So is it a little bit of a blessing in disguise, like going through the whole experiencing addiction from your perspective, and maybe it sounds like you almost saw like your own addictive behavior,
100%,
almost like in a reflection of your relationship.
Yes.
That kind of a blessing in disguise, and it sounds like you took a ton of responsibility within that.
It was the biggest gift I was ever given. So, like I said, I could have ended up the victim, right? And made it all about him and said, I don't have a problem. This isn't my problem, and moved on. But because I leaned into it, it really did transform my life and my business because, these unhealthy behaviors like control, caretaking, perfectionism, taking on other people's stuff, right? Like he's upset with me. So what did I do wrong? Right. Most of us as healers, right? Like we're healers being in the health industry. We want to fix everybody, right? Yeah. We put so much of our worth in the results our clients get, but the results they get have nothing to do with our personal values. So these are all kind of codependent behaviors, and we all have certain varying degrees of codependency. But it's when these behaviors, when the volume is turned up so loud on them that we don't exist in our own lives, right? So we're so busy taking care of our clients and our colleagues, and we're fixing everybody, and we're always saying yes to everything, that at the end of the day, there's nothing left for us. That's not okay. Or we're feeling resentful now towards our clients because why don't they appreciate everything I've done for them? Yeah. That's what I really walked away from. Like my husband's addiction, he could abstain from, drugs, alcohol, one day at a time, right? As the theory goes. Being a recovering codependent, these behaviors show up every single day in my life. So you can't just abstain from being around other people. You have to lean into the discomfort of not falling prey to those behaviors, right? Like, so again, turning down the volume on them. I'm still allowed to take care of people, but I'm not allowed to throw myself under the bus anymore. I need to put myself first. I'm still allowed to get dressed up and look pretty, but not if it means that I'm doing it because I'm nervous or I'm trying to come off like I know more or I'm better or I'm trying to like puff up my self-worth, right? So that's, codependency is really about, it is an addiction. It comes from years of learning how to survive in our households, in our families, because you can look back at the lineage of addiction, like show me somebody who doesn't have addiction in their family somewhere. So codependency comes from trying to survive that. And it's literally like we teach it to our kids and it gets carried down from generation to generation. So this gave me the opportunity to really disrupt those patterns in my own kids and have different conversations with them now. So yeah, you can't abstain from it, but you certainly can show up in a different way.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, what we talk a lot about at Grit is that you don't that no one's fearless. Like, you don't get to. It's not about being fearless. It's about managing the fear. Is the fear going to manage you, or are you going to manage the fear? And I really like your lean in, like that.
Right.
Like, you're going to lean into something, not just like.
Fear is a great wingman. Fear and doubt, like link arms with those suckers. It's not about punching them in the face and making them wrong. It's not about putting your head down and pushing through. Pay attention to what they're trying to tell you, right? Like fear shows up because it's that part of us that's like, this isn't safe. What are you doing? Like it's the part of us that genuinely cares that we're not going to hurt ourselves, but it doesn't understand that it's coming from a place that, wait, there's nothing here for me to fear. Right? We have these parts of us that operate based on, prior things we've embodied, prior experiences that we've embodied. So when you allow your fear and doubt to just be your wingmen, be like, acknowledge that they're there, don't make them wrong, be curious about them. Like, don't just muscle through your fear. Just say like, why is this here? What's showing up for me? What's really going on? Yeah. You'll make much bigger strides because it's not going away. It's never going to go away.
Yeah, the fearless thing always blows my mind. It's like what do you mean? Like, how are we going to be fearless? And then what would life be like if you were? Like, it's not about that. There wouldn't be. What would be the obstacle then? It would be
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So
that's cool. So, and you talk about Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies. You use those. We really like those a lot. How do you use them?
Right. So the 4 tendencies was really eye-opening for me personally. Because, if anybody is familiar with Myers-Briggs, I am an INFP, right? So I'm an intuitive, I'm a feeler. I'm not that I can't think, not that I can't do structure, but that's not my like wheelhouse. And I'm an okay. So I've always struggled against is like, why can't I be like that? Why can't I do it this way? Like I was joking with one of my coaches because he likes, he's like, you take the Lego system, you follow the instructions and you put it together. I'm like, I take the Lego instructions and I'm like, who would follow instructions? Like, let's just build something, right?
Yeah, let's build something for real.
So when I discovered that the 4 tendencies and I came out as a rebel, I was like, of course, right? So when it comes for me to food, to exercise, to everything, I am successful when I have freedom and choice and flexibility, right? So I don't need someone to tell me I have to be at the gym on these days. I'm going to go when I want to go. And I always go because I love it. Like I love being a gym rat. As for food, my whole program is set up around choice and empowerment because of course I'm a rebel. I love that. But what I've discovered through her work is that there really are some people that struggle with choice and freedom. Like they really need they feel unsafe if they don't have that external accountability.
It's like a threat to them.
Yeah. So it's helped me understand why some of my clients struggle more with this and why some people do need more of a detailed plan. And it also allows me to still teach from the place that I want to teach and honor who I am, right? Like I don't need to change who I am to morph other people. What I need to do is find other people that think the same way as I do because they're the ones that are going to be the most successful. And that's, I think we can spend a lot of our careers trying to get people that actually aren't the right fit for us because we want to help everybody, right? Because everybody needs to eat healthier. When I stopped giving that up and got really crystal clear on the type of women and men that I like to work with and how I can best serve them and understanding those 4 tendencies, everything so clicked for me. So I'm a rebel, but I can also be an upholder, right? Yeah. I can set high expectations for myself and I like to be held accountable sometimes and sometimes not, right? Like it's all relative.
So unpredictable. I'm a rebel also.
Of course you are. Right? We're like kindred spirits. We were meant to find each other.
There are a lot of really weird similarities that you keep coming up with. Like, do you see this one over here? Like, are you going to be all in, or are you going to be afraid that you're not enough?
Yeah.
So not enough is like a theme in everything that you talk about, and then the lean in. There's like so many and the amount of dualities that you've spoken about so far today are extreme.
That's cool.
People live in that
I know, right?
At the same time, all the time.
And even with that statement, are you all in today? What does all in look like? Because on some days, all in looks very different for me than on other days. Sometimes I have to acknowledge that all in means I'm having a nap,
Yeah, totally.
And that's not wrong. But for
Right.
so long, especially with the messages in the fitness industry, like, fat is your sweat crying and just do it. Like, those were mottos that I like lived and died for when I was younger. And they're actually so destructive to me, because you don't need to tell me to do more. That's my default setting. I am an over functioner to the true sense. It is so much harder for me to go into the gym and say, you know what, I'm going to actually lift a little lighter today because that's what my body needs. And I'm not going to make it mean anything. And I'm not going to make it mean that I'm not working hard enough or I'm being a slack ass. That's harder for me. And I think more of us need to hear that message. It doesn't need to be all in all the time. And all in can look very, very differently.
Day to
It's
day. Yeah.
yeah, like giving ourselves permission to want what we want, need what we need, without making it wrong.
Right. Yeah. If you think that you're going to be like, you talked about perfection, and like, I look at perfection and I'm like, perfection is trying to do better than your best. And it's like, good luck doing that. It's
Right.
never going to work out very well in your favor. And if you're all in, if you're doing the absolute best that you possibly have, one day that might be the best that you've ever done. And on another day, you go on like, you're hungover, you're not going to do the absolute best that you've ever done in your life.
That's
Probably.
right. That's right. Sometimes your best is just having the courage to show up.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes that is your best, and that has to be enough, right? We have to stop hanging our self-worth on the things we do, and we have to bring it back to who we're being, right? How we're showing up for ourselves first, and why we're showing up in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not really dealing with health. I don't know what you're dealing with, but I'm quite positive that I don't know about in your experience, but in my client's experience and my experience, that if you just go hard all the time, it's a life or an injury or something's going to knock you back down.
Yeah. And, I would question anybody who comes to me who's going hard all the time, what that's about. Like, what's driving that behavior? What are you trying to accomplish? What is hanging? Like, what is the belief attached to that desire to drive hard all the time? Because it comes from someplace. And that, I remember when this was my osteopath, I was going through an injury. So I burnt myself out so badly. So this was, post addiction recovery, when, I'd finally started to slow down. And we know what happens as overachievers when we start to slow down, right? It's like shit hits the fan. I realized that, like, I had adrenal fatigue. So I had literally burned myself out so much, I couldn't even roll over in bed without getting dizzy. And I didn't know what was wrong with me.
Right.
Ended up going to a naturopath. It was because I was so healthy. My blood pressure was already so low. And then one of the symptoms of adrenal fatigue is even lower blood pressure. So I was literally dizzy all the time. But I mean, I remember when my osteopath said to me, Lisa, you need to slow down even more. And I felt like I had already slowed down so much, and it was so uncomfortable for me. And she said, you need to slow down even more. She's like, I think you need to give up weight training for a while and maybe, swim. And I started to cry on the table. I thought, what? Swimming? And, as I'm lying there crying, I'm thinking, God, Lisa, pay attention to this. Like, you don't live or die by weight training. But the thought of not being able to do that is actually making you cry. Like, what is that about for you? And I realized how much resistance I still had to even slowing down more, and what that would look like, and how much of my identity I had tied to what I was capable of doing in the gym. And that's when a lot of things shifted for me, because I'm still a powerhouse in the gym. I love being strong. I love defying what people think you should be able to do as you age. Like, I love that. And it can't be my identity. It can't be my identity anymore, right? I can't wrap my self-worth up in how much I can push on the sled in the gym. And that's what it was about for me. So it really wasn't about the fear of slowing down. It was about what slowing down represented to me and the stories that I had around it.
Yeah.
So it's a process.
Yeah, it totally is. And to some extent, like, what you do doesn't necessarily define who you are.
No.
Like, just because you do like to go to the gym, and you do eat healthy, and you do practice mindset stuff, and you do whatever, doesn't mean that that's who you are. That would be like a really overweight person saying that that fat is their identity. Like, no, fat's just something they have on their body.
That's right. That's right. And we get to be enough, good enough, and a worthy member of society just because we were born. We don't need to prove that every day, whether it's in the gym, whether it's in a business arena, whether it's, being super mom. We don't need to prove our worth. We're worthy just because we're alive. And that's a really hard thing for people to grasp. And I don't even really think that most people understand that what they're really struggling with is low self-worth. If you had said that to me 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I would have been like, you're crazy. Like, you're crazy.
Registered, it would have just been like,
no,
whatever.
no, right?
You never remembered that it even happened.
No. So now I can totally see that that's what it was about. But that's what I mean about, I think that there's always going to be a catalyst for somebody where they have to come face to face with their stuff. I think this is kind of our hero's journey in life. We're born perfectly imperfect. We start looking to our left and right, realize, oh, you do it this way, and oh, you say that. And we start layering up with all this garbage that isn't us, right? So now we're walking around like Joey and Friends with all of Chandler's clothes on, only to hit like our late 30s, early 40s and go, this doesn't feel good anymore. Something's not right. I'm not feeling successful. I'm not feeling strong. I'm not feeling good enough. Like, why does my relationship suck? Why am I not happy? I have all this stuff and I'm not, like, it's still not enough. And we start stripping off the stuff that we realize, wow, that was never mine. I was trying to fit in with you, and that was never mine. I was trying to make you happy, and I was trying to take care of you. And that's when we really find our way back to who we are, and we start to realize how much of our personal worthiness we have put on the table and allowed other people to kind of take from us, right? Like we live half of our lives disempowered. Yeah, like, here you go. And it's about claiming it back.
Joey from Friends with he just, like, you just kept on putting more and more of these metaphorical t-shirts on, and and not one of them are who you are. It's just a t-shirt.
Just a t-shirt. So I personally had to strip off all of that stuff. And it was looking at the relationship with my husband, my kids, my friends, my colleagues, my clients, all of it, and saying, like, am I actually really being who I am? Or is a lot of this like the BS that I don't need anymore? And it was uncomfortable and sometimes downright painful to put those beliefs down, because, like I said, they were like breathing. This is who I am. And so to realize, wow, this actually isn't who I am. This is what feels true for me was, it was a challenge. So to be able to support other people now going through that is such an honor, to be witness to that, because it's such a vulnerable place for us to be in. Sure. When we're willing to open up and let ourselves be seen in that way. I'm grateful for my work every day. I'm grateful for what I went through, because it allows me to hold that space for other people in a way that not everybody can do.
Yeah. There's people that go their whole lifetime without having the experience that you had. And it might have been the worst thing that ever happens to you in your whole life, hopefully, And it was still this blessing and wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's still the best thing. And that, I write about that in the book, that I'm grateful every day for that experience. And when I was standing in it, I hated every minute of it. And I can't even tell you the moment where my life got better, but it did. And my life is radically, radically different now. And I'm so, so, so grateful for it. So, and I just a different level of faith and trust in myself and in my business and the people I've surrounded myself with now, and boundaries. I have boundaries in my life now. Imagine that.
Those are kind of amazing, aren't they?
Oh, so amazing. Uncomfortable to set at first, but amazing.
I just about followed up with that. It was like, like when you first start setting boundaries, everybody's like, wait, what? This isn't what you do. This is what we do. This is our relationship. And why are you breaking it? Like this isn't, and then it almost is like becomes like an attack. And then it's like, why are you doing this to me? And then you feel guilty. And then and it's like this whole terrible thing. And it's like, you just got to stay true to that, or not true.
Right.
You got to stick with the discipline that you set.
That's right. Setting boundaries isn't about other people. It's about what we need for ourselves. It's about putting ourselves first. And other people's emotional reactions to our boundaries is not our responsibility. Like, we have to trust that when we do the things that are best for us, it's for the greatest good of all.
Yeah.
And sometimes that catalyst they need is the boundary that we set, right? Like that's their come to Jesus moment around, wait a minute, like, why am I feeling this way now? And I don't know, I believe that those lessons that we need to learn in life, they just keep turning until we're ready to look at them, right? Like, you ready now? Oh, yeah.
You're probably just getting smacked in the face every 10 seconds. You don't even realize that final smack is like the straw that broke the camel's back. You're like, oh, I should have realized this a long time ago.
Right, exactly. You know, like, if I could go back in time, I think about all the relationships that I had that were so destructive, right? Over and over again, right? Never once thinking that I was the common factor.
I know.
Once, right? So now I can look back and see, okay, there's that lesson. Like, I was letting this be okay. That's not okay for me in my life anymore. This is how I want to be treated. This is how I'm going to treat myself. Yeah. And, but yeah, that's a really powerful thing. If people just had the courage to step back and be curious about, where can I take responsibility for my role in this relationship with my body, with my food, with my friends, with my family, with my colleagues, that will shift how they see the world. That's how you step into empowered thinking.
Yeah, it'll change the experience of your entire life. I think I'm gonna have to go back and like tag this part of the video, because that was write that down. Write that down.
So this is good to note too. Judgment and curiosity, they can't coexist.
Good.
They can't coexist, right? Nice. So when you find yourself judging, right? Like, why aren't I going to the gym? Why can't I get my ass out of bed? Why can't I eat the healthy food? Why can't I, why isn't so-and-so doing what I want her to do? Yeah. Just step back and say, okay, if I wasn't judgmental here and I was willing to be curious, what perspective is available to me?
Yeah.
And that will help you see things in a whole new life, because they can't be in the same room together, judgment and curiosity. Look at kids playing, right? They just do their thing. They're just curious and they learn so much. Yeah. So
that's cool.
Use that with your clients.
Noted. But where can they get the book?
So we're in like pre-launch party phase right now. So the book is coming out February 20th on Amazon. They can sign up to learn about the bonuses that we're putting together and whatever this kind of party is going to look like. And I'm setting up a whole resource page for the book, which has been really fun to pull, because I've pulled content from my courses into the resources. And so it's kind of like the best kind of everything is going in there. So they can find it over at lisacarpenter.ca/book launch. And then they'll be at the front of the line for everything that we put out. And anybody who signs up before January 10th, we're actually doing a draw for a bunch of pre-release copies. So I'll be mailing those out shortly too, because as exciting as it is to have a book written, I am so present to the feelings that I'm having around like my own fear, my own anxiety. Like, okay, I wrote it, but now people have to read it.
Yeah.
And the whole, what are people going to think? Like, I'm still human. So I may be like conscious to all these things and coach people through things, but I still have my own emotional experience. And there's nothing more emotional than putting yourself out into the world on a bigger stage and opening yourself up to be criticized, because people are going to criticize. And I have to be grounded in who I am. And I have to be able to ride the emotional roller coaster that goes along with greater visibility and having my work out there in such a visible way. So anybody who kind of jumps into this launch gets to share that process with me, because I very much practice what I preach. It's not a do as I say, but not as I do. I am in the trenches with my clients every single day in my own process. And I think that's a really important part of connection. And especially as coaches in the fitness industry, we have to stop wearing these masks like we've got it all together, we got our nutrition down and we got it figured out and we feel good in our bodies and just do your reps and eat your chicken and you'll be great. We need to let people see us on a real level and stop this hierarchy that we have. Let people see who we are and where our struggles are, because that's when they'll connect and that's when they'll stop judging themselves. And you'll see greater transformation with your clients. So inspire them, but inspire them by being willing to share your own vulnerabilities, your own shortcomings, and really step into being authentically who you are.
Yeah. So real quick before we get off this, do you eat French fries?
Pardon me?
Do you eat French fries?
Do I eat French fries? No.
You eat pizza?
No. I eat ice cream. I love ice cream. So no food is off the table for me.
I'm joking. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No food is off the table for me. I'm all about choice. There are foods that I don't eat, not because they're bad, but because they're more trigger foods for me. So if I have one, like if I have a piece of white bread, I'm going to take out a small child for the rest of the loaf. So I'm not going to eat that. That's a trigger food. But again, it all comes down to conscious choice, knowing what makes me feel my best. So my rule of thumb is I don't put anything in my body that makes me feel like shit.
Yeah.
End of story. So, but I love candy. So, I'll eat candy. But it's my choice, right? And that's what I empower my clients. Like, you choose, you do what's right for you. Just don't judge yourself, have guilt or shame yourself over the choices you make. Make them and move the hell on. And life will be good, and you'll still get what you want, and you'll be much kinder to yourself in the process.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That's what I figured you were going to go with it. So.
Right. Boom.
All right. Well, you ready to get off of the call?
I am. This has been great, though. Thanks for jamming with me. It's been really good.
So thanks for being on. I really appreciate you. But can you give them a reminder of the website where they can go?
LisaCarpenter.ca is where you can find me. Specifically for the book is LisaCarpenter.ca/book launch.
Cool.
Pretty straightforward stuff.
And is it Lisa Carpenter on everything for social media?
Pretty much. I think Lisa Carpenter Inc. for Facebook and Lisa Carpenter for Instagram. There's so much social media. It's a little bit overwhelming. Right?
I know. If you really started listing them all off, you'd be,
Oh, we'd be here forever. Yeah. If you go to my website, all the little icons are there. I'm pretty easy to find. So if you want to find me, you will find me. And by all means, reach out, connect with me. Let me know that you heard the interview, what resonated with you, what didn't resonate with you. Like, I love open conversation about stuff. So yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
Bye, everybody.